Should you buy the new M2 iPad Air or go for the M2 iPad Pro, the old one from 2022? Well, if you are excited to find out, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, let's get this video started. So, before we do that, I need you to tell you about today's video sponsor, KeysFan. If you are looking for Microsoft Office licenses for cheap, then this is the website for you. It gives you on a very affordable prices. You can get the 2019 Microsoft Office suite for around only $32, and you can get the 2021 version for $88. So you are saving tons of money. But if you want to save more, get with the discount code SUM62 and you will save 62% on your purchase. If you are also looking for Microsoft Windows licenses, then you can also find them for very cheap. A Microsoft Windows Pro license costs $14. So going to their website, use SUM50 to get your discount of 50%. Thank you guys for watching. Let's get on to the video. The iPad Air was released last week, and together with it we got two models, the 11-inch and the 13-inch. But in today's video, I'm going to try to persuade you guys to buy the M2 iPad Pro from 2022. Yes, this is why you shouldn't buy the M2 iPad Air, because I do believe the older M2 iPad Pro from 2022 is a better buy with your money. Yes, they cost around the same, because the new iPad Air starts at $600, and with the 13-inch size starting at $799, the real question begins: which iPad should you buy? The M2 iPad Air or the M2 iPad Pro? Because you can find the 11-inch M2 iPad Pro for around $600 to $650, and you can find definitely the M2 iPad Pro 13-inch or the 12.9-inch from 2022 for around $900, which is a great price. You can even go to the Apple Store refurbished website and get the M1 iPad Pro from 2021 with the mini LED screen and the same design as the M2 iPad Pro for even less, $800 and something. That's almost the price of the M2 iPad Air, and you get so much more guys. So let's talk about it. The first big difference between the iPad Air and the iPad Pros are definitely the displays. While the iPad Air features an LCD display, the same LCD present on the 2018 iPad Pros, but with a big difference. It does not have 120 Hz, while the M2/M1 iPad Pro from 2021 and 2022, they do feature that mini LED incredible display that Apple released with the M1, and it features 120 Hz, which, if you do believe that 120 Hz Pro Motion display it's an essential feature for your device, for the Apple Pencil experience, then spending the extra $100, $150 on the M2 iPad Pro is definitely worth it. You will get more storage and you will get simply a better experience with your device. Yes, the display, it's the main portal, the main input into your iPad. And if you think you want a better display than the LCD present on the iPad Air, then definitely go for the M2 iPad Pro. That device has an incredible mini LED display with incredible contrast ratio, incredible peak brightness, incredible color accuracy, and especially incredible blacks. So if you do think that a better display would benefit your workflow, would benefit your way of working, your efficiency, then yeah, go for the iPad Pro. And that device, for the price that Apple is selling it right now on the Apple refurbished store, especially the M1 iPad Pro, is insane. The M2 has the Hubber Apple Pencil feature and the M2 chip. If you find that attractive and you find that useful, then your only choice is going for Amazon refurbished. You can find these devices on Amazon refurbished for around $900, $950, and they are a pretty great deal. The base storage, only 128 GB storage, but I think it's a great price. On the Apple refurbished website, you can find for around $870, $900, or even less, $800, 256 GB model. That's also a great deal. So for around the same price of the 13-inch iPad Air, you can get the 13-inch iPad Pro, which has the same size display, has a better USB-C port. So on the iPad Air, you only have a normal USB-C port, while on the M2 iPad Pro, you have the Thunderbolt port, so you get faster speeds and fast charging speeds. You also get better speakers. On the iPad Pro, you get quad speaker system, the same present on the M4 iPad Pros, and on the iPad Air, you only get a dual speaker system, which is called stereo speakers. So you still have 4 grills two on each side, but on the iPad Pro you'll have 4 independent speakers for each grill, while on the iPad Air you will have only 2 speakers, and the experience won't be as immersive as it is on the iPad Pro. The speakers on the iPad Pro are quite insane, and since the 2018 iPad Pro they have been really crazy. Now on the 2022 generation and 2024 generation with the M4 chip, they are incredible, and for almost the same price as the M2 iPad Air, you get the mini LED display with 120Hz, you get the Thunderbolt port, and you also get speakers. So you are probably now understanding why I'm telling you not to buy the M2 iPad Air and go for the M2 iPad Pro. Used, refurbished, or even on a discount price. Amazon, Best Buy, wherever you can find it. Because I do believe it's truly the best value iPad right now. It's very high performance, and I know it's expensive and only has iPadOS. You cannot do that much. But if you want an iPad for basic stuff like Apple Pencil, note-taking, drawing, going for the iPad Air will limit you using the Apple Pencil very much because of the 120Hz technology. I do believe it makes a lot of a difference. I used an iPad Pro since 2018, the 2018 generation, and since I made the jump from the iPad, I think 8th generation with the Apple Pencil, first generation, to the iPad Pro 2018 with the second generation Apple Pencil, I really noticed the difference between the 60Hz and the 120Hz present on the iPad Pros. So yes, since then I cannot switch back to a 60Hz display using the Apple Pencil. So much more responsive, it feels way less laggy, and it feels real. It feels like a pencil drawing on paper. While the other iPad Pros, the lagginess, the delay that you get while writing with the Apple Pencil will ruin the experience. So, in my opinion, I think you would go for the iPad Pro. Even if you don't have the extra cash to spend, wait. Do not spend the money right now, wait a bit more, save a bit more, and then buy the M2 iPad Pro. I truly believe it's definitely worth it. Again, quad speaker system, ProMotion display, Thunderbolt port, and you also get an ultra-wide camera on the back, which right now it's an exclusive because even on the M4 iPad Pros, you only get one wide camera. The ultra-wide camera was present from 2020 to 2022, so only on the 4th, 5th, and 6th generation of the iPad Pro, 12.9 inch. So, if you do believe that you really need this ultra-wide camera on your iPad, your only solution is going for these devices. But I do think this is a very small detail, the differences between the cameras on the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. But one thing that I do believe is a big deal, and it's also because of the cameras, is the camera placement on the iPads, especially the front camera placement. Because the iPad Air features horizontal camera placement, just like the new M4 iPad Pros. While the older generation, the M2 iPad Pro, this might be one of the biggest deal breakers for this device. Its Face ID system is positioned on the vertical position. So when you are taking FaceTime calls, your camera will be slightly positioned to the side. So instead of talking directly to the camera, you will be talking like this. So instead of me looking to you, I'm looking to the side because I'm looking at the screen, or more like this. Instead of me talking to you, I'm looking to the side because I'm looking at the camera screen. This is what happens on the older generation iPad Pros and iPads that don't use the horizontal position for the Face ID system. And so the new iPad Air does have that over the older generation M2 iPad Pro. That, and also the support for new accessories coming for the newer generation iPad Pros. Yes, in terms of accessories, the M2 iPad Air and M2 iPad Pro, they almost feature the same support. They feature the same Magic Keyboard. They don't both support the newer Magic Keyboard, so you can only use that keyboard with the new M4 iPad Pros. But the M2 iPad Air does feature support for the newer generation Apple Pencils, the Apple Pencil Pro, while the older generation M2 iPad Pros do not feature support for the newer generation Pencil Pro. So if you want to use the Apple Pencil Pro newest features like the squeeze, gesture, or even feel the haptic motor on the Apple Pencil or the Find My features, you will need to go either for the iPad Air or for the iPad Pro. But if you don't really care about that, you just want to use your Apple Pencil that you have right now, well, you won't be able to use it with the newer generation iPad Airs. Yes, the newer generation iPad Airs, they have a different charging method for charging and pairing with the Apple Pencil because of the new position of the camera on the screen, and so now you won't be able to use the second generation Apple Pencil, USB-C, whatever it's called. No more of that. So if you have that Apple Pencil and you want to still keep using it without buying a new one, you'll have to go for the old generation iPad Pros. But if you want to buy the new generation Apple Pencil Pro, you will have to go for the iPad Air. So actually, the biggest deal breaker between these two devices and it will actually help you out decide between these two devices, is the Apple Pencil. Do I have an old Apple Pencil laying around, a second generation Apple Pencil, and do I want to ditch it? Do I want to buy a new one? If I don't, I go for the older generation iPad Pros. They work just fine with that, and even an older generation Magic Keyboard. But if you have an old generation Apple Pencil, like from the 2018 iPad Pro, and you are thinking, I want to buy the new iPad Air with the M2, I don't need more than that, I don't want to spend more than $600 on an iPad. In that case, be careful, because those $600, they will turn out to be $750, $720. You will have to buy the newer generation Apple Pencil Pro or the newer generation Apple Pencil with a USB-C that does not connect via Bluetooth, does not connect via pairing with a wireless charging method. No, it's all done via cable, via the USB-C cable. So if you don't really like that, which I do believe is a kind of a janky method to use your Apple Pencil, way less convenient and better than using it on the wireless charging method that Apple used before on the second generation Apple Pencil, I do believe going for the older generation M2 iPad Pro will be a nice solution. You will still get incredible displays, incredible speakers, the Thunderbolt port, way better. All of this is way better than the M2 iPad Air, by the way. So with all of this in mind, coupled with the fact that you won't need to buy a new Apple Pencil, this actually turns out to be a great deal to get the M2 iPad Pro. But if you do really want the newer features on the Apple Pencil Pro, your only choice is the M2 iPad Air. As for the Magic Keyboards, none of these iPads feature support for the newer Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pros 2024. I know, all of this is very confusing, but this is my short version of the story. So, the M2 chip iPads, they do not feature support for the newer generation Magic Keyboards. So, the only device that supports the newer generation Magic Keyboards is the M4 iPad Pro. More things. The iPad Air, the M2 iPad Air, the new iPad Air, does not support any old Apple Pencil. Only the Apple Pencils that came out in 2024. So the Apple Pencil with the USB-C port that came out in January, I think, and the Apple Pencil 3rd generation, or the Apple Pencil Pro. So these are the only supported Apple Pencils for these iPads. While the old M2 iPad Pros, the same chip, the same M2 chip, they only support until the 2nd generation of the Apple Pencil, and they also support the Apple Pencil with the USB-C. So the interlapse on the Apple Pencil with the USB-C that connects via USB-C cable, that Apple Pencil works with every single iPad. Other than that, only the M2 iPad Air and M4 iPad Pros work with the Apple Pencil Pro, and none of these devices work with the Apple Pencil 2nd generation. All of these because of the charging method and system that Apple implemented on the newer generation iPad Air and iPad Pro, because of the changement of the placement for the Face ID system. And talking about the Face ID system, another big change between these two devices is the authentication method to unlock your iPad. The iPad Air features Touch ID, and this is something that lots of people like, but I do believe it's cumbersome, because to unlock your iPad with Touch ID, you don't actually need to look at your iPad and just push it up. No, you need to physically touch your iPad to unlock it. So it's one more step that you need to do, while the iPad Pro, well, the iPad Pro is much faster. You simply touch on your iPad screen, push it up, and it unlocks. Different, very different, and it's way more convenient. Since the 2018 iPad Pro that I experienced this Face ID system, this very quick and reliable Face ID system. It works everywhere, authenticating passwords, opening bank accounts, signing in into social media accounts, into your bank accounts, anything that you need to sign in on. The Face ID is super fast, and you don't think it's there because you are looking at the screen. When it happens, boom. Downloading apps, paying something, it's so fast, so reliable, and the best authentication method in the market, I do believe. While the iPad Air features the old system, just like the iPad mini features the Touch ID system. Is it bad? No. Does it work every time? Yes. Is it weird? Maybe. But there's a lot of people that are used to it. They pick up their iPads, touch the top of the button, the unlock button, with the huge Touch ID sensor there, and it unlocks. The Touch ID sensor is not on the screen, but on the unlock button on the top, while the Face ID system is on the horizontal position on the iPad Pros. Much better, if you ask me, to have the Face ID system, but if you do prefer to have the horizontal camera, you don't really like having the vertical camera position for FaceTime calls, and that, I agree with you. If you do prefer that over Face ID, so between these two devices, you'll have to choose Face ID or horizontal position, because you can have both. You can have both, but only on the M4 iPad Pros. In this case, you have to choose between Face ID or having the horizontal position. If you prefer more the horizontal position over Face ID, I would go for the M2 iPad Air because that device gives you Touch ID and gives you the horizontal position. Touch ID is not as good as Face ID, but it's fast enough. While on the M2 iPad Pros, the older generation, the 2022 generation, they have Face ID just like the new M4 iPad Pros. Super fast, super reliable, and I love it. But they don't have the horizontal position for the cameras. So they have a vertical position. When you put your iPad on the landscape mode, well, let's just say that it's not very pleasant to use as a FaceTime camera. So these are the biggest differences between the M2 iPad Air and the M2 iPad Pro from 2022. If you ask me which one of these devices would I choose, well, easy, the M2 iPad Pro. That has a better 120Hz display, mini LED, a quad speaker system, Thunderbolt port, and on top of that has Face ID. And costing the same amount of money has the M2 iPad Air 13-inch and having Face ID and all of these that I've talked about before, it's an easy buy for me. Definitely going to buy the M2 iPad Pro if I had to choose between these two devices. But lots of people could choose otherwise. They do prefer Touch ID, they do prefer the horizontal position on the camera. These are the two biggest advantages of going for this M2 iPad Air. Then they will choose the M2 iPad Air. And the biggest detail that you need to have in your head is, do I want the Apple Pencil Pro? Do I want to use my old Apple Pencil? All of this counts. If you want to buy the M2 iPad Air, be careful and keep in mind you'll have to buy a new Apple Pencil. If you want to get the old M2 iPad Pro, you can still use your old Apple Pencil. It's that easy. So with one price and one purchase, you don't have to add up more $130 or more $80, depending with Apple Pencil would you buy. But in that case, you need to spend more money. So you need to decide. So it's not actually $600 for the base model iPad Air, it's more like $720 with the Apple Pencil. While the M2 iPad Pro, if you have an Apple Pencil already, it works with the second generation Apple Pencil. So let me know in the comments below which one would you choose, a refurbished M2 iPad Pro or an M2 iPad Air new. Let me know all of that in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like down below, subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all of your support during these weeks. I'm having an M4 iPad Pro coming right now with the Magic Keyboard and the Apple Pencil, and I'm super excited to review it. I think it comes in 1 day or 2, so expect an unboxing. If you want that, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.